Income grows, location decides who keeps it. Same job, same effort, same salary, different city, completely different financial outcome. And no one tells you this when you're choosing where to live. They tell you to negotiate harder, they tell you to budget better, but they never mention the invisible tax attached to geography. Here's the question most people never ask: why does a six-figure income feel stable in one city and financially suffocating in another? Not because you changed, not because you became irresponsible, but because the system around you did. Rent doesn't just cost more in some places, it rewrites the rules of wealth accumulation. In certain cities, rent quietly eats the exact money that was supposed to become savings, then investments, then freedom. This is where frustration starts, not at yourself, at a system that never explains this trade-off. In this video, I'll show you how location functions like a hidden tax, why high earners fall into this trap without realizing it, and how to see it clearly before it costs you a decade. Let's look at Ethan and Jake. They were college roommates. Ethan stayed in San Francisco for a $160,000 software job. Jake took a remote role for $147,000 and moved to Boise, Idaho. On LinkedIn, Ethan looks like the winner. He makes $13,000 more. But LinkedIn doesn't show your rent check. Ethan pays $3,400 for a one-bedroom apartment, average as of early 2026. That's $40,800 a year just to keep a roof over his head. After California's aggressive state taxes and federal bites, half of his take-home pay is gone before he buys a single egg. Ethan saves $400 a month. He's 31, he has a used Civic and $23,000 in retirement. He is exhausted. Now look at Jake, he makes less. But his rent in Boise is around $600. That's for a two-bedroom with a garage. His groceries are cheaper. His state tax is lower. Jake saves $10,800 a month. That is 4.5 times more than Ethan. While Ethan struggles to afford a dinner out, Jake just put a down payment on a house. Ethan is earning, but Jake is building. This is the geography trap in action. It's the difference between rich on paper and wealthy in reality. Geography is a tax you never see itemized. This is where anger starts, not at yourself, at the system that never explains this trade. You might think $1,400 a month isn't a big deal. Actually, it's bigger than it looks. If both men invest their savings in a simple index fund at 8% annually, where do they end up in 20 years? I'll reveal that math in a moment. But first, we need to understand why this gap is widening. The biggest lie we are told is that you have to be in these cities for the network. We're told the career premium justifies the cost. This was true in 2004. It was maybe true in 2014. In 2026, it's a myth. A 2025 study by Stanford economist Nick Bloom found that about 25 to 28% of all paid work days in the US are now remote or hybrid based on surveys and data tracking. The proximity tax no longer buys the access it once did. Big tech companies like Meta and Google have implemented hybrid policies, though some enforce return to office. Overall, remote job postings increased about 3% in quarter for 2025, according to FlexJobs data, but trends vary by company. The network has moved to the cloud, but the rent is still stuck in the city. You are paying for a lobby that you never walk through. Your zip code is a tax on your future wealth that you never voted for. Most people stay in these cities because of the vibe. They like the coffee shops. They like saying they live in the city. But let's be honest. How often do you actually use the culture? You work 50 hours a week. You're too tired on weekends to do anything but Netflix and recover. You are paying $2,000 a month in lifestyle premium for a lifestyle you don't have time to live. It's like paying for a gym membership and only using the locker room to cry. The elite secret to wealth isn't picking the right stock. It's purchasing power parity. This is the unfair advantage of the modern era. If you can earn a San Francisco salary while living in Oklahoma City, you have effectively doubled your wealth overnight. In Oklahoma City, the cost of living is 18% below the national average. Your $100,000 salary suddenly buys what $125,000 buys elsewhere. You didn't get a raise, you just stopped being robbed by your environment. Remember the math I promised? Let's look at the 20-year horizon for Ethan and Jake. Ethan saves $400 a month in San Francisco. Jake saves tens $800 a month in Boise. Both earn a hypothetical average 8% annual return in the stock market. This assumes an average 8% annual return, but actual market returns vary and are not guaranteed. After 20 years, Ethan has approximately $236,000. That's a decent safety net. But Jake has $1.06 million. The difference is over $800,000. Read that again. Jake didn't work harder. He didn't pick better stocks. He didn't have a side hustle. He just lived in a cheaper zip code. $800,000 is the price Ethan paid for the culture of San Francisco. That's an effective long-term wealth loss of about $40,000 a year, every single year, for 2 decades. When you live in an expensive city, you aren't just paying more for eggs. You are paying with your time. You are paying with your retirement date. For Ethan, that $800,000 gap means he has to work 10 years longer. He has to stay in the cubicle until he's 65. Jake can walk away at 55. This is the part they don't tell you in the orientation. They give you a high salary, they give you a cool title, but they take your freedom in the form of rent. It is a brilliant, silent extraction of your life force. Here is the hard truth. If you're earning 6 figures but saving nothing, you're a background character. You are the supporting cast for the city's actual winners. The real winners are corporate landlords like Avalon Bay Communities, collecting your career premium every month while profiting from the AI boom. You are grinding 60 hours a week to fund their lifestyle. You are paying for the privilege of helping Avalon Bay retire early. You aren't making it, you are being harvested. You're not climbing the ladder, you're fertilizing it for someone else. High costs like these leave about 33% of the middle class struggling with basics as of 2023 data from Brookings, fueling millennial financial anxiety over debt and affordability. Wealth isn't what you earn. Wealth is the gap between your income and your environment. Think about the absurdity of the commute. We pay $3,400 for an apartment. Then we pay $500 for a car or a train pass. We do this to travel to a building we hate. We spend 10 hours a week in traffic. We are literally paying for the opportunity to lose 10 hours of our lives. It's like buying a ticket to a movie you don't want to see, and the ticket costs half your salary. If that isn't absurdism, I don't know what is. Now, let's take the math to the extreme. This is where things get genuinely life-changing. If your income is not tied to your location, why is your cost of living? There is a growing class of geography hackers. They earn American salaries but live in US cities where money goes further. Let's look at Oklahoma City or Boise. In Oklahoma City, you can live a high-end life for around $2,200 a month based on 2025 to 2026 estimates. That includes a modern apartment, food, and utilities. Take a remote worker earning a modest $147,000. After taxes, they take home around $5,200 a month. In San Francisco, they are barely breaking even. They might even be going into debt. But in Oklahoma City, they spend around $200 and save $4,000 every single month. That is $48,000 a year in pure savings. At that rate, you don't need 30 years to retire. You hit financial independence in under 10 years. You can buy your freedom before you turn 40. This isn't a fantasy. Tens of thousands of people are doing this right now. The system wants you to believe this is impossible. They want you to believe you need stability. Stability is just another word for being an easy target for taxes and rent. The technology industry justified San Francisco's prices for years, but now job postings for remote roles have increased by 3% in Q4 2025. The anchor has been cut. If you are still holding on to the chain, that is your choice. The tax you pay to stay in an expensive city no longer buys the same growth it did in 1995. Stop the video right now, open your banking app, look at your total fixed costs for last month, rent, utilities, and local taxes. Now, go to a cost of living calculator like Numbio. Compare your city to a city 500 miles away like Oklahoma City. Subtract the difference. Comment that number below and share if your current zip code is worth that much. Be honest. Most of you will realize you are paying a prestige tax that you can't afford. I used to think that moving away meant I was giving up. I thought I was leaving the center of the world, but then I realized the center of the world is wherever I have the most freedom. I stopped caring about being in the mix that I started caring about being in control. The first thing people say is, but what about my network? They think if they leave New York, their career will die. Data says otherwise. A 2025 study by Live Data Technologies found something important. Fully remote workers were promoted 31% less frequently than in-office or hybrid workers. However, hybrid setups may see similar or slightly higher rates because workers are judged on results, not just office politics. In the city, you get promoted for being seen. In the cloud, you get promoted for being valuable. I'd rather be valuable than visible. But I'll still owe taxes. Yes, if you are a US citizen, you owe federal taxes on worldwide income. But you might qualify for the foreign earned income exclusion. This lets you exclude about $132,900 from federal taxes if you live abroad. However, FAE has strict requirements. You must live abroad for at least 330 days in a 12-month period and pass either the bona fide residence or physical presence test. It doesn't apply to state taxes, and you may lose other benefits. Consult a tax professional to see if you qualify. Even without that, the math still wins. If your rent drops from $3,400 to $600, you are saving $21,600 a year. No tax bill is going to wipe out that kind of arbitrage. You are still coming out way ahead. People worry about being lonely in a new city. They worry about leaving their friends. This is a valid and common concern. Moving requires building a new community. But consider the alternative. Is it social to be so broke that you can't afford to go out? Is it social to work 70 hours a week to pay for a room you only sleep in? Being near your friends doesn't matter if you're too stressed to see them. That said, moving isn't for everyone. If your job isn't remote capable, like in manufacturing or service industries, or if you have family ties, health needs, or prefer urban diversity, the trade-offs may not work. Consider cultural adjustments, potential isolation, and access to services, especially for minorities or families with children. Additionally, consider broader economic factors in 2026, such as potential inflation, job market shifts, or policy changes that could affect remote work availability and costs. But here's the relief. A 2025 Pew Research survey shows 62% of remote movers report higher life satisfaction. You're not alone in this shift. There is a specific kind of loneliness that comes from being broke in a crowd, like the 46% of millennials not feeling financially secure, according to Deloitte's 2025 survey. A community of people who are all struggling to pay rent is not a network. It's a support group for the exhausted. If you want to escape the geography trap, you cannot guess. You need to calculate. Your first step is to define your location tax. Take your total housing cost, add your state income tax, add the 15% premium on local services. This is what you pay for your zip code. Now, pick 3 alternative cities, 1 mid-sized American city, 1 low-cost US city like Oklahoma City, 1 hybrid hub. Look at the rental prices for a comparable lifestyle. Subtract that from your current cost. This number is your freedom delta. E is the amount of life you are currently lighting on fire. But how do you keep your salary? This is the pivot point. Most people think it's all or nothing. They think they have to quit to move. That is a mistake. Your second step is to audit your location dependency. Ask yourself, can my job be done from a laptop? If the answer is yes, you have leverage. Companies are terrified of losing top talent in 2026. Before you resign, you must propose a remote arrangement. But how do you pitch it so they can't say no? I'll tell you the exact script to use in a moment. Don't sell your house and move to Boise tomorrow. That's how people end up broke and lonely. The third step is the 1-month flex. Take your vacation time. Go to your target city, work from an Airbnb for 4 weeks. Live the actual life there. Don't go to the tourist spots, go to the grocery store, go to the gym, deal with the local traffic. If your freedom delta still feels worth the friction, you have your answer. You aren't guessing anymore. You are executing a plan. The final step is the boring stuff. You need to solve for healthcare and taxes. If you stay in the US, this is easy. Your health insurance usually follows you or becomes slightly cheaper. For taxes, consult a professional. That is a massive wealth accelerator. We have been conditioned to believe our city is our identity. I'm a New Yorker. I'm a San Franciscan. We wear these labels like badges of honor, but these labels are expensive. The city doesn't love you back. The city is a utility. It is a tool for a specific stage of life. If that tool is now dull, why are you still paying for it? Staying in an expensive city because you belong there is like staying in a bad relationship because you like the partner's house. It is a high price to pay for a feeling of belonging, especially when high costs fuel millennial stress over debt and basics. We worry about what people will think. We worry that moving to a flyover state means we've failed. But let's look at the scoreboard. Who is winning? The person with the $3,400 rent and the prestige address? Or the person with $1 million portfolio and the freedom to wake up whenever they want? Prestige is for people who care about appearances. Freedom is for people who care about reality. We live in a world where a latte costs $7 in San Francisco and $2 in Boise. It is the same coffee. It is the same caffeine. The only difference is the floor space. You are paying $5 extra just for the privilege of standing on expensive dirt. If you did this with anything else, people would call you crazy. If you bought a $500 toaster because it was from a cool zip code, you'd be a joke. But we do it with our lives every single day. We are paying for the dirt, not the coffee. The dirt under your feet shouldn't cost more than the dreams in your head. Ethan and Jake are not real people, but they represent a very real choice. Ethan is the person who accepts geography as destiny. He believes he has to be there. He believes the struggle is part of the grind. He will work for 40 years. He will retire with a modest nest egg. He will always wonder where the money went. Jake is the person who sees geography as a variable. He manipulated the equation. He chose a different standing point. He will retire 10 years earlier with 4 times the wealth. Income is hard to grow. You have to fight for every 5% raise. You have to beg for promotions. Investment returns are out of your control. The market gives what it gives. You can't force an 8% return to become 20%. But geography is a lever you can pull tonight. You can multiply your effective wealth by 3 times just by changing your coordinates. It is the single highest leverage decision in personal finance. Yet, it is the one we talk about the least. The biggest enemy you have isn't the IRS. It isn't your landlord. It is inertia. It is the habit of staying where you are because it's where you've always been. We normalize the struggle. We get used to the high prices. We stop seeing the location tax because it's deducted from our lives automatically. But just because you're used to the weight doesn't mean it isn't crushing you. The inertia tax is the most expensive tax in existence. I am not telling you to move today. I am telling you to stop lying to yourself. I am telling you to calculate the cost of staying. If you decide that the restaurants and the weather and the vibe are worth $40,000 a year, then stay. That is a conscious choice. But if you can't justify the math, then you are just a prisoner of your own habits. You are paying a tax you never agreed to. I've spent way too much time thinking about this math, so you don't have to. I've seen the data. I've seen the results. The people who win are the people who move. They are the ones who realize that loyalty to a zip code is a luxury they can't afford. If this changed how you see your paycheck, hit that like button. It helps the math reach the people who need to see it. Remember, this is educational content, not advice. Always consult professionals for your situation. If you're ready to stop being a pass-through entity for corporate landlords like Avalon Bay, subscribe. We talk about the truth here, not the prestige. Share this with someone in the trap tag #geographytrap in comments. Salary just a number, zip code, your wealth multiplier, hack it or lose it. I'll see you in the next one.